Today in our 2013 Nissan Frontier, we'll be installing the Roadmaster Diode 7 wire to 4 wire Flexi-Coil wiring kit, part number RM-15247.
So when we're all hooked up to our RV, it's very simple to get our towed vehicle lighting function to work. We just plug our 7-way into our RV, then we take our 4-pole round, lift up on this tab here, and plug it on in. It's that simple. And then we'll have towed vehicle lighting, so we follow all the laws and we won't have any problems with people running into us at night. All right, here's what our kit comes with. We have our Flexi-Coil wiring adapter here that goes from our 7-pole RV connector on the back of our motorhome to our 4-pole round. And this will allow us to have towed vehicle lighting on our Nissan Frontier here that we have today. So when it's being flat towed behind our motorhome, we have all of our required lights. We have our 4-pole wiring here, and we have our necessary diodes. These diodes will tap into our factory wiring and will allow us to use the factory bulbs in the vehicle without having to worry about having magnetic tow lights mounted on it or any other auxiliary lights. It's a quick and simple installation. These diodes will allow the factory lights to work normally when the vehicle is not being flat towed, and the diodes only allow current to pass one direction, so you don't have to worry about voltage when it's being flat towed, damaging any of the sensitive electronics inside the vehicle. We have our 4-pole connector here, and this will mount on the front of our Frontier, and this will be where our electrical connector plugs into. We don't have to worry about any moisture, dirt, or debris getting inside because it has this nice spring-loaded lid which will keep all that out. We have a bracket here to mount it to our vehicle, some hardware to secure our bracket, some wire loom if we need it, several zip ties to secure our wiring, a ring terminal here and a self-tapping screw to secure our ground wire, and a butt connector if we need it. So now that we've gone over the features of our Roadmaster Diode wiring kit, we'll show you how to install it. All right, we're going to begin the installation at the front of our Frontier here. I already have our 4-pole wiring unraveled. We're starting at one end. What I'd like to do is wrap it in some electrical tape, part number PTW502. The reason I'm doing this is so it'll be nice and concealed behind our grill opening, so we don't have any colored wires hanging down. You can also use the wire loom that's included if you want, but this gives it a more compact look. So that's be plenty there to cover it up. Now we need to route our wire from our connector mounting bracket here through the fascia underneath the hood. To do that, I'm going to use a pull wire here, just a piece of airline tubing we have laying around. I'll stick through this opening here on the side. So right where that metal line comes through for a auxiliary cooler, we'll push this on through. And we can go underneath the hood and grab it. So you can see where it comes out down here to the side of this hose. So you've got this pulled up now. We can easily grab it when we need it. So we'll take the end that we haven't taped up yet, stick it on here, and we'll secure it with some electrical tape. Now we can pull it onto the engine. Now we'll just pull it all the way through. Leave a little bit hanging down so we have some room to work with, and then we can make our connections to our connector. All right, so we have our 4-pole round connector here. There's a set screw here at the top. We use a Phillips screwdriver, and we'll remove that set screw. Make sure we don't lose this set screw, it's very small. We'll open our door up, turn it upside down, and this plug will come on out. We'll remove this rubber sleeve. Now we have access to our wires. We'll separate the wires to their individual. Let's take a pair of side cutters here and clip them, then pull them back. With our wire separator, we can now grab our connector and pull back this rubber grommet on the back side. We'll insert our wires through there and slide the grommet back. And we'll slide our wires through the connector, open the door, and we'll get the wires on through. We'll take the sleeve that covered the set screws up on our connector. We'll slide that over our wires as well. Take our wire strippers, and we'll strip off a little bit of insulation from each wire. Now we'll take our connector here. Remember, this set screw hole here is the top of our connector. This one to the bottom left is our ground wire. That will connect to our white wire. Loosen the set screw for that connector, and we'll insert our white wire like so, and then tighten the set screw. Make sure our wire is nice and secure, which it is. This bottom right one here, next to the ground, is for our tail lights. And that is where the brown wire goes. So we'll loosen the set screw for that. Make sure it's secure, and it is. Now we'll do our right turn signal and brake light. That is the top right one, and that gets our green wire. Now we'll do our left turn signal and brake light. And obviously, since we only have one terminal left and one wire left, it's pretty easy to figure out where that goes. It goes to the top left. Make sure everything's secure once we have them all tightened down. Now we'll slide this protective cover back over our set screw connectors. Open our door back up, push our wires on through, and we'll reinstall the connector just by pushing it back in. Making sure we try to line up the set screw as close as possible, but we can always adjust it as necessary if we need to. Now we can take our set screw, being very careful that we don't drop it, and we'll tighten down the set screw, just like so. We'll slide our grommet back down towards the connector, and we'll push it back inside, just working it in ever so slowly until it goes in properly. One final thing I like to do, even though we have a grommet on there, you can still see that there's way for water to get inside. So we'll wrap it up again with some electrical tape. Okay, that's good there. Tear that off. All right, as you can see there, that's nice and sealed up now. Don't have to worry about any contaminants getting inside. Now we need to mount our connector to our electrical mounting tab on our base plate. As you can see, this 4-pole round won't fit in there properly, but that's okay. So as you can see with this adapter that came with our base plate, the inside holes here line up with our 4-pole round. So we'll take our connector, small machine screw that we had laying around, our adapter bracket, a lock washer, and a nut. Just get it started for now. All right, now we can attach this to the bracket on our base plate. We'll insert a screw on one side, and we'll start a nylon lock nut. This hardware that I'm using was included with the base plate. You may need to supply your own if you don't have any. Now we can tighten down our hardware with a wrench holding the nut in place and a Phillips screwdriver. Okay, with those tight, we have a nice easy to use connection point for the umbilical that will go between our Frontier and our Motorhome. It's nice and solid, it's not going anywhere, and it's tucked up out of the way, but still easy to plug into. Now we need to start routing our wire towards the back of the vehicle, avoiding any moving parts or sources of heat such as the exhaust. Now when we're doing this, we need to get it to the back of the engine bay first, then drop down, then we'll start carrying on. So we'll go underneath the air box here. There's a hose right underneath it that we can zip tie to. Now we're going to go down underneath our brake booster here, and we'll secure to these two lines right there and feed our wire behind our steering shaft here. Now we need to be careful around the steering shaft because this is a moving part. So we'll reach up and we'll grab our wire that we dropped down and we'll pull it all the way down. Now we'll take our wire and we'll drop it on the other side of our frame just to get away from this exhaust. And I'll start routing it to the back of the vehicle and securing it away from moving parts and sources of heat. On the driver's side, we have it secured to this hose here with a zip tie. We'll go ahead and snip that off. Then we went around this body mount here on the back side between it and the cab and the frame. There's a hose that's on top of the frame and a wiring harness that we secured to on top of the frame with several zip ties along the way. Then we went over the frame and secured a wiring harness on the inside. Went up and over our charcoal canister, over this cross member in our frame, over our shock, then we went back over the frame again and secured to a second wiring harness. All right, now that we have our wires routed up just underneath our driver's side tail light, we're going to separate them just like we did on the front. Separate them back as far as we possibly can. All right, now that we have all four of our wires separated, we'll open our tailgate and we'll remove our taillight assemblies. Now there's two 10mm bolts. We'll remove those. We'll grab the taillight and pull towards us. Like so. Now our taillight assembly has three bulbs. The bottom ones are reverse light, our turn signal bulb, and then our brake and tail light. This is the only bulb that we're going to be working with. So we'll unplug it. You'll be able to see that it has the biggest connector of all three. So we'll have it unplugged. Unplug the other ones too, just so we can set the tail light aside. And we'll go repeat the process on the other side. Now we can bring 3 of the wires up to our driver's side. The green wire is for our right turn signal, so we'll leave that sitting down here and we'll run that over to the passenger side later. We'll feed these on up. We'll take our white wire now. This is our ground wire. Trim off the excess. Take our wire strippers. Trim off some of the insulation. Take our provided ring terminal, slide it over the wire, and we'll crimp it into place. Just like so. Now we'll take the provided self-tapping screw. Now we'll ground this out to the vehicle's body. Just make sure we're not going to go through the bed of the truck at all while we're doing this. Right down here on this flat surface will be fine. With our ground terminal secured with a self-tapping screw, it's nice and tight. We have a solid ground connection. Now we'll take our taillight connector, use a pair of scissors here, and we'll cut back this insulation just so we have access to our wires. Make sure all 3 of our wires are out. We'll just cut it off. All right, so we turned our headlights on. We have our test light connected to the chassis for ground. And we've determined that this gray wire here is our tail light signal. So we're going to tap into this one for our towed vehicle lighting system. So we'll take a gray wire, cut it right in the middle, making sure we have our headlights turned off. Trim back a little insulation on both of the wire. Take our diode pack here with the yellow terminal on it. Apply our blue terminals to the wires. Take our diode pack again. The output side will go towards our connector, towards our tail lamp. And one of the inputs will get the other connector. Doesn't matter which one. Take our brown wire now, measure off about how much we're going to need, cut off the excess, and we'll save this. Strip back some of the insulation, and the remaining part of the brown wire, we'll strip off some too, and we will tie these 2 together. And we will grab our yellow terminal, slide it on over, and we'll crimp it down. And this will go to our other input side, like so. Now we had an assistance step on the brakes, and we determined that our yellow wire is our brake light wire. So we'll cut that in the middle too. We're going to use this as our turn signal and our brake light. Take another one of our diode packs. This one's going to have all blue on it. Take every one off, and we'll install them onto the wire. Again, output side goes towards the connector for our tail light, and then one of the inputs, does not matter which. Then we'll take our yellow wire, and that'll go to the other input on our diode pack. Now our brown wire that we connected to on our other diode here with the yellow connector, we'll drop this on down through the same opening that we pulled the wires up through originally. And we need to route it up to the other taillight assembly on the other side. Now we'll run the green wire the same way we ran the brown wire. You may find yourself needing to extend the brown wire. We're going to have to do that too. So I found some extra brown wire laying around. We'll strip off one end, strip off the end that we brought over, and we'll attach them together. This is a heat shrink butt connector. So once we have both wires crimped on, we can heat it up with a heat gun and shrink it together. So let's use our heat gun, and we'll shrink up this butt connector. Now we'll feed up our green and brown wire, just like we did on the other side. You can see that's why we had to extend it, because our light's up here. We were just about a foot too short, unfortunately. Now with our headlights turned on, we can see that the purple wire here is our tail light signal. So we'll turn our headlights off, trim this back, and make our connection. Output side goes towards the connector. Other one gets one of the inputs. We had an assistant step on the brake pedal again, and we found out the red wire is for our brake lights. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take off the protective covering that controls our double-sided sticky tape. We'll tape our 2 diode packs together like so, and then we'll tape them up with electrical tape to keep any corrosion from possibly interfering with them. Make sure we tape them up together too a little bit, just so in case the double-sided tape will ever come unstuck. All right, well, that's good there. We'll do the same on the other side. Now we'll take our taillight assembly, plug back in our connectors, and we'll reinstall it. We'll our taillight push back into place, reinstall the 2 10mm screws. We'll do the same on the other side. So we have our umbilical plugged into a trailer tester here, and we'll plug our umbilical into the 4-pole round on the front of the car, just like so. Make sure the lid catches the latch on it, which it does. Now we'll test our functions. All right, so we have our trailer simulator plugged in now. I'm going to turn on our tail lights. As you can see, both of our tail lights on the left and right hand side illuminate. I'll activate the left brake light now. This will also function as our left turn signal. As you can see, that's working. Now I'll switch over to our right. As you can see, that's working as well. Now we'll test our factory lighting functions to make sure they still work properly. We'll turn our headlights on. As you can see, both of our tail lights work. I'll step on the brakes, and you'll see both of our brake lights come on.
And that completes our installation of the Roadmaster Diode 7 Wire to 4 Wire Flexo-Coil wiring kit, part number RM-15247 on our 2013 Nissan Frontier.
Click the link below to shop, learn more, or visit us at eTrailer.com.